I have 8 children. I travel quite a bit. I didn't believe I could do it. I was almost like I'll call these guys out. I'll call their bluff and I'll make double. Now I'm believing I actually can be strong and healthy.
All right, what's going on, everyone? I'm here for another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. I've got a special guest with me, Mike Wascovich. Am I saying that right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Wascovich coming to us from the west side of Cleveland.
That's right.
West side of Cleveland, wearing a beautiful Irish shirt. So Mike is, well, I'll let Mike kind of tell his story, but Mike's recently, I'll say the reason that we asked you to be on the podcast is because your coach recently posted your highlights in our Client Wins channel that we have on Slack. And I think he posted like a weight loss milestone for you. And so I went on to your Trainerize account because I have admin access. So I can go and I look at everyone's like, anytime a weight loss post is made, I'm like, all right, let me go see what these actually look like. Because at this point, I don't get to coach anyone. So I don't actually get to meet people and see their faces.
Yeah.
So I go and look and I'm like, oh my God, those are striking transformation photos. So I, reached out and messaged you and was like, man, I'd love to hear your story and hear about, the results that you've gotten and also just, kind of what brought you here and how you feel. Anyway, that's the backstory on Mike and why he's here today. So Mike, I'll just let you introduce yourself. Where you're from? What do you do? Age, all those good things. Just give me a quick backstory.
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you, Sean, and your audience. I feel just a privilege to share my story, maybe inspire one soul out there who's just maybe not sure. Because I was there 6 months ago. I joined KT about 5 months ago. My name's Mike Wascovich. I'm a busy dad. I have 8 children.
Oh my goodness.
50, Irish Catholic. I'm 51, pharmacist. I travel quite a bit. I'm not your traditional stuck in a big box store running a drive-through. I work in a health system and I fly around the country almost every week. Cool. And I just needed something and to sort of like get me off the couch and into off the sidelines maybe. And Sean and Grant's ads kept popping up in my feed. And I thought, this seems doable and flexible. And I really liked the guarantee. I'm a no BS, black and white, bottom line up front. And you can tell when someone's passionate and someone believes in their product, and they did, and they actually put the number out there. And I said, well, like, what do I have to lose? So just get over your fear. And I jumped in 2 feet.
Man, amazing. So you joined about 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And so tell me about like your kind of history leading up to KT. Like what was your fitness like? You said you're 51. So what did 30s and 40s look like for you from a fitness perspective?
Well, when you're a young parent and you're sort of in survival mode, like I mentioned, I have 8 children. So all my time, all my resources were really 100% and still are to my family. Like I would say most fathers and husbands. And I just put myself last. You put your health last. And so I tried to always just work 10, 12-hour days, 6, 7 days a week. And you go from standing and running around to sitting a lot. And that's just like the new Syndrome X is where you're sort of sitting around getting heavier, buying new clothes because you're constantly uncomfortable. I would get quick carb hits or quick caffeine hits to get me through an afternoon or get me through an evening just to get home to be on email all night like most busy executives. And then just wasn't really physically in the game to the point where I couldn't even really do a push-up. And so I started wearing a pedometer and looking at how many steps. I was averaging 2,000-3,000 steps, pretty weak or anemic. And I thought, I gotta make some kind of change. I've tried different things, whether it's just YouTube videos and like, hey, that looks pretty cool, but you get no feedback from that. There's really no plan to follow. And I wasn't raised in a gym. I played soccer and tennis most of my life. And so I didn't know how to lift weights, didn't know how to follow a food plan. And so I just felt kind of lost. And that's where your message somehow found me and it resonated pretty quickly.
Nice. Yeah. So you had tried various things, but never really found anything that you were consistent with throughout the years. I mean, having 8 kids and traveling all the time sounds like maybe it would absorb a lot of your time in that arena.
And I would say the number one factor is that there was no accountability check-in. You could do those things and you might have some marginal success. But for me, I needed instruction and I needed feedback and coaching. And I certainly found that in the KT program. That is a big percentage of, I'd say, my success is just that I'll call it shaming effect. I use it at work actually. Like, let's compare ourselves against our peers. Let's be a little bit appeal to the competitiveness in our country or in each of us. And let's get better from last quarter to this quarter. Well, I sort of was looking in the mirror like, well, how are you doing that for your own health? And KT certainly provides that direct feedback in a safe way. You're not going to be embarrassed where you're going to be competing against someone else. You're really competing against your own mind and your own excuses. And my coach, who's awesome, has helped me with that.
That's awesome. You're working with Hugo? Hugo, yeah. Hugo's he's got a penetrating kind of way of thinking about things. And he's been in the business world a long time, you know, so I feel like he can relate to a guy who's busy and driven in his career in that way, but just hasn't prioritized his health. And I don't know if Hugo went through this with you, but he went through a massive physical transformation himself, you know, right around the time that he turned 50.
He certainly is relatable and flexible. Like, my wrist had hurt at one point. He said, don't worry about the weights. Let's dial in on your food. Let's dial in on your steps. What can you do? And it was, you know, you don't want to let your coach or yourself down, but also you don't want to hurt yourself and go backwards. And even in your coaching videos, which I've watched all your videos, hey, like, we're going to push this week. If something else is going on in your life where you can't, that's where the program is not so hard that it's preaching perfection. It says, like, this is a journey steps. A 1,000-mile journey starts with one step at a time. And you do have to be disciplined. You do have to commit. You do have to do the work. But you can screw up and just, you know, brush yourself off and keep going.
Yeah.
I think that's a realistic approach. And that
right.
really helped me.
I mean, it's the only approach that we've seen that works long term is understanding that, like, you're not going to be able to give everything you've got every single week. It's just not possible. Things will come up. Like you said, if your wrist hurts, okay, that means you maybe need to stop pulling the lever of hard training for a short period of time. But that doesn't mean that there aren't 3 or 4 other things that you can focus on and maybe even put more energy into those things than you would otherwise, because now you're not putting the energy into training. And that is, I feel like where a lot of men kind of screw up is like a wrist injury could be something that would just throw a guy off from everything. Okay, screw it. I can't do anything. So I'm just, you know, whatever, I'll pick this back up when my wrist feels better. But then all of a sudden you lose all your momentum and all your traction. And now you're starting from square one again.
And I can't speak for all guys, Sean, but for me, I was really easily discouraged before the program. So, you know, I don't have time to go to the gym, or when I go to the gym, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to throw the weight around, or maybe I do, but it's not heavy enough. It's not impressive enough. There were like 1,000 reasons to be discouraged. Well, this is in the privacy of your own home. You guys send the bells, you send the scale, you bring the coach. There's a lot of things on the app that you can do. 2 a.m, you can't sleep. I can go read some things. I could be meal planning. There's a lot of things a busy person, you're enabling him to do. And I would say overcoming that ability for me, which is easy to become discouraged, you've made it easy to not be discouraged. And that is, again, just brushing yourself off and keep moving forward. And so I've said to Hugo, like, I don't really care about how much weight I'm using. I don't really care. Like, I'm much more into the form. And he has like a martial arts approach, like do it well and study it, as opposed to getting through it and surviving it. Like, I wouldn't say enjoy it, but do the work and do
some
it
days.
Well. Yeah. And he has said there's days like I don't feel like doing it either. Like,
yeah.
Oh, so like you're a human being too.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like that coach as opposed to that executioner or that punisher.
Yeah.
Certainly works for me.
Yeah, that's huge. And I feel like that martial arts approach of like doing it well. The funny thing is like that actually is the way to level up and get stronger and eventually be using weights that you may have looked at when you started and been like, there's no way I'll ever be able to swing that or put that over my head. But then if you just keep doing the work and you focus on proper technique, and your body is going to respond because you're putting in consistent effort, and you know, you're a human and you're adaptable. And the right
I'm
inputs,
on the cusp of that.
You're on the cusp of human.
Well, I would say as much progress have I made in a short period of time. I feel like I'm 10% into my journey.
Yeah.
Not halfway through, not 2/3. And so I'm just lately starting to feel stronger. And so just this week, Hugo and I have reset my protein goals. And he's like, yeah, like You should be, and that's a good thing. The patient coach during the holidays and like, don't worry about the weight, especially if your wrist hurts, where you kind of feel like you're disappointing somebody. No, like all of a sudden it's almost April and I'm feeling stronger. I'm looking stronger. My wife's like, you're getting too skinny. I'm like, well, my head game has been lose the weight is now transforming into get stronger and leaner and be healthier, not just some number on a scale, which
I love that.
Which is a totally different, like I can knock out, not all at once, I can knock out 50 push-ups. And you heard me right, 5 months ago, I couldn't do one push-up. So like the results,
that's
I'm super proud of just little micro wins like that.
Yeah. And I love hearing that your mindset is transitioning from this idea of like, okay, I'm going to lose weight. You know, there's going to be a scale number I'm going to hit. You even mentioned just a minute ago how the guarantee was very important for you, which obviously our guarantee is a stated weight loss or body fat percentage goal. So we do very much hit that metric, clear, objective. But our secret mission is, hey, once you get in and you start feeling stronger and you start feeling so much better from doing the work, you actually start to just really not always enjoy it from a day-to-day perspective, but respect the work and understand that the work is actually the journey in itself. That becomes the rewarding part of things. And then you start, like you said, now you're feeling stronger. Now you're feeling leaner. Now you're starting to wonder like, oh, I wonder how much stronger I can get. And like hearing that you say, so I just want to clarify, because I think this is a really cool point that you just made. And I've never heard anyone say it like this, but you said, I feel like I'm only 10% of the way through my journey, not 2/3 of the way through, not almost through. Now, help me understand, help the audience understand, where did you start at from a weight perspective, and where are you at now 5 months into the KT journey?
I started at 232 pounds, and my stated goal was 175 at 179. It feels like you're 90+% of the way there. Well, in my math, and I don't know how much to really get into the scale, because I think it's directional, is I want to lose maybe 20 pounds more of fat, but I want to gain 10, 12 pounds of muscle. So like my mind is shifting on what does that final weight have to be? The 175 was important to me because that's what I weighed in high school. When I look at my BMI, that would be a healthy BMI. I've gone from obese to overweight to on the cusp of a healthy BMI. I've dropped from 32 to 26. I want to be at 25 on my BMI. So that's why I think I'm maybe 10% in, 15% in, is there's so much to still learn. And the last thing you said is, this stuff, like the get you over the wall with the guarantee, but like the hidden agenda is, I would say, to get people to believe they can do it. Because I didn't believe it. I was almost like I'll call these guys out, I'll call their bluff, and I'll make double. I'll try my tail off, but I'll make double if I fail. Like it was win-win, as I put in one of our texts. And now I'm believing I actually can be strong and healthy. And so like, what is that worth to you? Like that maybe you can put a dollar value. To me, that's priceless. And I have 8 kids, and now I'm a grandfather. I have a whole life to go live, and I'm going to enjoy that life because of the KT program. And calling the goal out, I'm going to now go enjoy my life more. I mean, so like you're inspiring people on a whole new level, probably more than you ever thought.
Well, thank you. That's I mean, you really just summed up everything that we try to do in this program, and it's pretty awesome to hear that that's the impact that you've had. And especially the part about the 8 kids, that being a grandfather, like that's the tear jerking stuff to me, because that's the reality is like, give me the flip side. Give me the 6 months ago version of Mike that was 50+ pounds overweight, who didn't believe he could be strong and healthy, who saw himself going into, his years as a grandfather. What was that guy thinking about his health? Help me understand that guy.
So I think like your target audience, I'm successful in life and in work. And I would say at home with a big, happy family. But I was unhappy with how I felt, whether it's looking in the mirror, stepping on the scale, buying another set of bigger pants or bigger belt. And so my daughter wanted to walk the Camino, the famous way of St. James in Spain. And we walked that not the whole 500 miles. We walked about 100 miles of it last May. And I wasn't sure if we could do it because you're walking 15 to 18 miles a day for about a week. And we did it, and we enjoyed it. And I thought, I actually feel really good when I walk and when I'm out there and my kids aren't kids. They're starting to be young adults. They're starting to get married. And I want to be there for them. And what's it going to take? What can I use in my business life in terms of that acumen and those things? Schedule it, show up, work your tail off, work hard. How do I do that for myself, which I wasn't used to as a busy dad and father? You put yourself last. So how do I put my health first and prioritize that? Because that is being there for your family. And so I sort of took that Spanish walk and brought that into my personal life, found KT, and that's when I got serious in the fall. And I've gone from not believing I could do it, calling the bluff of the I'll pay you double, which wasn't a bluff at all. It was a challenge of like, we believe in our program so much that we know you can do it, but you got to show up too. And so it's just been hugely motivating. And the one thing that you guys kept saying that resonated with me is, don't wait for motivation to act. Act, and you'll find the motivation. And I was like, that's totally right. And so I say that to myself every day. So there's been that, like, I don't know if it's spiritual, but mental transformation about you take this seriously and you can make these changes, you can make these gains, you can get these results. And that's why I think I'm just at the beginning of getting great results. But I've gone from sort of a couch potato making excuses to super proud that just little things, not complete transformation, yields a great return. And so now what else is possible? I mean, it's pretty exciting.
I love that. That's the thing that we hope to open up for every guy, which is like, once you start to take control of this stuff, once you start to take control of your health, feel stronger, challenge yourself in the way that you have been, not these massive, like, I'm going to beat myself up and break my body down, but more like, I'm going to build myself up. You start to ask that question, what else can I do? And a lot of guys ask that, obviously in the kettlebell side of things with their training, but they kind of start to ask that in other areas of their life too. Like, well, what other physical challenges could I do? And how could I bring this level of discipline or this mindset shift into my work or into my family life? And I'm curious about you obviously, I presume that you have a lot of influence, being as though you have 8 children, you've got a wife, you've got a business. How do you feel like your family, your kids, your wife has responded to the changes that you've been making?
So I was really upfront with my wife, like, this is not inexpensive financially, but just the commitment that's going to take. So I need you to ignore me, if you see me over there, like, working out or, and so she's my partner. She's been great. She buys all the different kind of food that I need her to, and very patient and forgiving, giving me time, and like wants me to get healthy for all the right reasons. And so I've certainly found, you don't know, like in those first couple months, you might not see super great progress, but you're being transformed from the inside out. And I kept saying that to myself. And then, then you start shredding the fat and your body starts to change. And then people take notice. Some of my kids are like, hey, like, Dad, you're looking pretty good, just on a text. Or then at work, hey, what are you doing? All of a sudden you become the expert. I'm like, guys, it's math. I'm no rocket scientist. I am following a program. I'm working out, but it's probably 70% diet and walking, 20% weights, and 10% accountability and checking in and making sure you're showing up. And they're like, yeah, but like, what else? Like, there's some black magic that you have in a hat, like you're hiding it. No, that's it. And I'm happy to explain it to anyone that wants to know. But it's funny, at work, we do quarterly reviews. We take the individual development plan seriously. Like, are you getting the business results? But what are you doing personally to better yourself or better the company based on, and it could be anything. I'm working my work-life balance. I'm working on my spiritual health. I'm reading more. I'm learning AI, but I spend time with my leaders listening. And there's people saying, Mike, I'm working out because of what you're doing. Other executives, like, I don't know what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. Healthy, way more fit people, way younger than me, are asking me, what am I doing? I'm like, it's positive, and it's satisfying to know that you're having a positive effect on young, old, healthy, not healthy. Like, and I'm a healthcare worker, so you sort of want to be a model. Mm-hmm. It would be weird if you're an oncologist and you showed up to the, cancer center smoking a cigar or something.
Yeah.
So I don't want to show up to the hospital. I'm overweight. And so in that sense, I'm trying to inspire people, and I'm inspiring way more people than I ever thought.
Well, good for you, man. And it's earned too, you know,
Yeah.
and I can tell just from meeting you and talking with you that you've got the right energy about it and the right mindset about it. And so you let your hard work do the talking for you, but then also are very open about sharing it, which is, it's inspiring, man. It's a freaking great story. What about your relationship with your wife? You mentioned that she was very open, very supportive. We get, believe it or not, a lot of men use the excuse of my wife doesn't want me to spend the money as the reason that they end up not moving forward with KT, which we always call a smokescreen, because in reality, what wife actually wants their husband to be very
Right.
unhealthy and at risk for disease and no confidence. But like, help me understand, did you have any pushback from your wife about investing? How has your relationship changed in any way, if it has, with you getting healthy and focusing and putting in this work?
No pushback on the cost and all that, especially when I sort of made the case. Like, look, we spend a lot of money on vacations or on healthcare or on whatever. When you have a big family, food, and I can work this into the budget, and I think it's going to be better for everybody. So she just was sort of similar to Hugo, like, well, you're accountable for the results then. Like, you actually got to do the work, which I need. I don't want someone to sugarcoat it and be like, you're just going to buy the results. No, you actually, or it commits you. There's a level of commitment when you spend money on something that, like, you're not going to take it for granted. You're actually going to try harder. And that's true for me. So my relationship with her has been fantastic. As I mentioned, she buys all the food, but she's had to buy me a whole new wardrobe, and that's been kind of fun. She
Yeah.
said she was flying out today, and she said, I didn't work out yesterday, and I saw you got your work on, and I'm a little bit envious. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna be walking like, she's a little bit of a competitor. I'm like, don't think like that, please. So she's just been, I can't say my biggest fan, maybe my biggest fan, but she's been 100% my partner and advocating for me to get healthy.
Yeah.
She
I
sees
love
I'm
that, man.
more energy and happier. She's like, 6:30 in the morning, you're down on the treadmill. I'm like, well, I'm making this who I am. It's part of my schedule. And I know what it feels like 10 at night and you got 1,200 steps in, and I do not go less than 10,000 steps since I started. I've
There you
never
go.
missed a day.
That's
That's what you gotta have. And I think it was your
impressive.
video that said, like, one of the best things you can do to burn fat is just walk.
Yeah.
You really are full of excuses if you can't just find time to walk. I've walked. I was at a conference in Las Vegas. My meetings didn't end till about 9:30, 10 at night after a dinner. Skip the alcohol, skip the drinks and whatnot. And I just walk the strip, walk in the hotel lobby, get on the treadmill. Like, you can't be about excuses. So I don't. And I'll look at my day and I'll say, boy, I am sitting at my desk from 8 till 6. So I better get on the treadmill by 6:15 in the morning. Otherwise, it'll be 6:37 at night. And if I'm at 1,200 steps for the day, I will do it, but it'll be hard.
I won't like it though. Yeah.
I won't like it. So you got to be super demanding of yourself. But if you're like that in your work and you treat this as work, then it's really not a stretch to say this is totally plausible and you can do it. You got to believe in yourself.
Right. Well, yeah, and how much has that discipline opened up to you as well, if you think about it?
Right.
Because if you, like, we always tell people, like, it's work. It takes what it takes. But no matter how busy you are, there's always a way to fit it in.
Yeah.
If you just actually want to and you be proactive about it. Like you
Yeah.
said, if you look at your calendar and you see meetings 8 to 6, okay, well, you better have a walking treadmill at your desk where you're going to take those meetings.
Right.
You better take some of those meetings while you're walking around your neighborhood,
Right.
or you better get up early and go for a walk, because otherwise you're not going to get it in. And that's not acceptable if you actually want to have the health that you're saying that you want to have. And once you realize that, you just understand, like, okay, well, I'm going to find a way. And
the program was really upfront about that. Like, you're not going to not brush your teeth, right? So I was in Mexico right before, I was in Puerto Vallarta the day before they brought down the cartel. I was on the treadmill that morning before I went to the airport because I knew I was going to be all day trying to get back to America, flying through different with customs. And I said, if I don't hit that airport at 5,000 or 6,000 steps, I'm going to have a real dilemma because I'm not going to get back to Ohio until 9, 10 at night. And then I got a problem at midnight. And I will not break that streak, like, over my dead body. So you just got to, okay, am I going to walk the streets or am I going to, like, so you just, if you're a planner, it's sort of easy, and this will force you to plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is great because that's actually what has to happen. Like that's
Right.
You get to the point though with your planning where, at least this is what I've experienced in my own life, is it doesn't ever feel like planning. It's just like, this is what I do. I know that
who I am.
exactly. I know I'm going to have to eat during the day. So I'm going to, do I have food in the fridge or do I need to figure something else out? Hopefully I have food in the fridge, but if not, I'm going to figure something else out. When am I going to walk? For me, I've got an under desk treadmill and I spend a lot of time in my office. So yeah. I know that I'm going to get 7,500 plus steps in there. And it's not even going to be a thing that I think about. It's just like, as long as I roll that treadmill desk that's right there behind me under my desk at some point in the day, I'm going to hit my step goal for that day. Yeah. And then I'm going to go out for a walk because who doesn't want to go outside and move around? And then it's the kettlebell workout. I just look at my calendar and I'm like, where am I going to slip in a quick 40 minutes to get the work in? But I feel like guys they're making every excuse for how they don't have time. And it's like, the reality is you just don't know exactly what to do. And you don't have the accountability and the skin in the game to know that it's not acceptable for you to skip it.
Yeah. And with my comment here, I don't want to make it like this is easy, but I think you and Grant created like the Staples easy button. We're just going to pass it to you. You need to show up and hit that thing. So there's a regimen that you follow. We've done all the thinking for you. And there's a reason why, we think about the food sort of in a light way initially, and then we're going to start weighing things, and then we're going to really start dialing things in. So there's been a lot of thought and planning behind that easy button or that iPhone that, just how it turns on, but it's wicked smart behind it. And I know that you guys put all that thought into the process. So I just trusted the plan. Just work the plan. If you're not feeling well, if your wrist hurts or something, your coach is going to help you overcome that. But if you're not ready to show up, then you actually got to deal with yourself in the mirror. And I know, like anybody, but in healthcare, things get harder when you age. If your muscle atrophies or your joints just don't work because you never abused them, start now, because in 5 or 10 years, you've heard that comment, like 20 years from now, you'd love to be the same person you are right now in 2026 with all your problems and all your challenges. You'd still give almost anything to go back those 20 years. I just took that mindset on. So do I want to be in a doctor's office getting a bad diagnosis, or I want to be laying up in a hospital somewhere, not at my best, trying to fight off the infection or whatever has happened to me? Why don't I start now getting stronger, better, faster, smarter? So I'm ready for that, because we're all going to be there, versus being sort of old beyond my years and trying to fight something that I could have been a little bit more prepared for. Mm-hmm. It's just a mindset. And if you take that from your business life and apply that to your personal health and take that seriously, it's not a leap whatsoever.
Yeah. And I mean, you sound like a perfect case study in terms of there's no amount of busy, there's no amount of family responsibility and work responsibility that you can say is too much for you to be able to take action, because you've got 8 kids and you say you travel every week on planes. Right. And here you are down 50 pounds in 5 months.
Right.
I mean, that right there just shows, like you said, if you have the right plan that is executable, but also you have the right mindset of like, I'm going to do the work because I understand that the work has to get done. There's not another way. I don't want to buy the results. I want to earn them.
Right.
You bought a system and accountability so that you could do the right work and not have to think about it and be confident in that work.
That's right.
Yeah.
I said to myself 2 things. I didn't get this way overnight, so I'm not going to fix it overnight. So just trust the process and the methodology and the science behind the easy button that I've been given. Just trust that. And you just gotta kind of say, I'm sort of done with that same tired old self, and just sort of own it.
Yeah. What was did you have like a biggest hesitation when you were, thinking about scheduling your call with us, or even once you had the call? I don't know if you ended up, some guys will right there on their first call with one of our enrollment guys, they'll sign up. They'll say, I'm in. And other guys will say, I need to talk to my wife, or I need to think about it. So what was it like for you seeing our ads and then saying, okay, I'm going to book a call? Like, what was the hesitation, or was there any fear there, or this might not be the right thing leading up to that?
I'm actually curious. So I booked a call like this. Did I hear this right? Like, I kind of don't believe it. And I was all in on the call, but I'm the guy who's like, you know what? I'm going to run this by my wife because it is an investment. And so I got back to your coach or your consultant within a couple hours. I was
Yeah.
all in once I had her sign off. It was a
Good for you,
little
man.
Rocky Adrian moment, like do it. So okay, like okay, I got the backing now from my CFO. So let's roll. Yeah,
I truly believe that this conversation is a conversation that either pushes guys to transformation or a conversation that keeps guys stuck. I actually think that this could work for me. And then they go have a conversation with their wives. And I don't know this for sure because I've never had this particular conversation, but I feel like a lot of times that conversation will either be a guy like you going and saying, I believe in this. I'm going to make it work. We're already spending money on this stuff. And then your wife says, okay, I believe in you. You have to be accountable to results. Or a guy kind of comes with his tail tucked a little bit and he's like, well, it's going to be really expensive. And she's like, well, I've already seen you fail at 30 other things. Why would you do this and lose a bunch of money? And I don't know that, but I'm curious to understand for you. You said your wife was supportive. It was like a Rocky moment, like
yeah,
go do it.
yeah.
How did you approach that conversation with your wife?
Confident that well, I'm hesitating because I remember feeling on fire like I could do this. And she probably saw that in me and knows me better than anyone, said, you can. And you just needed to hear that. But I probably did have some nerves. Like, this isn't inexpensive. And I've failed at other things. But I sort of maybe had the business case, like the pros, cons, not getting any younger. I'm not feeling any better year over year, but also on the pros, like this feels different. Their guarantee is different. Realistic, we've addressed all your excuses. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to leave your house. We're going to send you the weights. We're going to send you the scale. We're going to give you the coach. The coach isn't just there to blast you. He's going to help you with your diet. He's going to help you with whatever else is going on in your life. All of it was very comprehensive and meticulous to where, okay, you could say the cost is maybe a headwind, but the tailwind or the business case was much stronger that you could overcome whatever that hesitation is. And it was, you do have to, spouse or not, you do have to sort of say, I'm accountable. And I think about that in business. So for those that are listening that are successful in business, you may be your business owner, but you may be working for a large company and it's not necessarily your money. And that's my organization. I steer a massive team and a large amount of capital, but I treat it like it's my own pocketbook. I'm super diligent and passionate, and I think I enjoy enormous credibility and success because I'm so thoughtful. You have to do that with this plan. And if you're not, and you're going to be cavalier about it, then you probably aren't. This is probably not a program for you. That might be that breaking point. If you're accountable to your organization or to you, you are the business and you know what it is to pay yourself last. And that's what I meant by being a father and a husband, and you sort of pay yourself last. I felt like it's about time I invest in myself, invest in the business that is my life and my body and my health, and get it on the right track so it can be sustainable. My wife probably felt that and was like, I'm going to be your biggest fan. I can text her not feeling well, or there was one day where I was sick and I was like at 7,000 or 8,000 steps, and she's like, "Really? You're not going to hit your steps today? You're going to regret it."
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
like, "Darn, okay." So like a zombie, I went on that treadmill and I got it. But I've never missed a day.
Man, I love that. Your
Yeah,
wife, she sounds like a killer, man.
she is.
The Rocky Adrian, that's great though.
She is a saint. I have buddies who want a lock of her hair because as a first degree relic of her sainthood, dealing with me.
Well, having that support network is crucial. And I think you hit the nail on the head with you saying, I was accountable to myself, knowing that this was, I'm being handed the easy button, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to do any work or put in any
Right.
effort. But if I can have this level of accountability to my business life, why can't I? And why shouldn't I have it in my personal life with my health, with my body, with my fitness and nutrition? And I mean, that's the key message is like, and now let me ask you this. Do you feel like obviously you've gotten strong and you've lost weight? What are the other benefits that you've experienced? How would you describe those, whether they be in your business life, with your kids, with your family? What else how has it permeated your life to lose the weight and get stronger?
I mean, like the simple one is I have way more energy. So I'm up early. I actually can be up late. I've always sort of been a night person, but I sleep better, just general health. I did a blood test yesterday. I wouldn't say perfect health, but my numbers have never been so good. My eye doctor, my primary care physician, I have a specialist. They're all like, keep it up. And it's, they have a tendency to sort of read from the same script whenever you go to the doctor and like, well, hey, you better lose some weight, or hey, you better like watch what you're eating. And they probably say it 50 times a day. I can now proudly go to that appointment and be like, yep, I took it seriously, and showing up. I don't have to say anything. Like, look at the labs. So that's super motivating. I'm generally optimistic, even with all of our challenges as a country or whatever business you're in. But now that I'm investing in my own health and I feel better, I'm probably even more energetic than I normally am. Feel like I can take on more. I'm volunteering a ton. I lead the Knights of Columbus Council for my church.
Cool.
And we do a bunch of things, and that takes a lot of energy. So on top of running a big business and having a big family, my hobbies besides working out is donating a lot of time to my community. And so that energy comes back down to having energy to do things and show up for people. If you're putting a smile on someone's face because you held the door open, or you delivered a hot meal, or you collected for the food pantry, or whatever it is, we do a lot. That's super motivating. Helps you sleep better at night.
Good for you, man. I love hearing that. Well, I know we're getting to the end, and so I want to just be able to ask you a question that we asked every guy, which is, if you were sitting down with a friend or a relative or a coworker or someone who was in your shoes 6 months ago and was thinking about, taking the leap and joining KT, what would your honest advice to them be?
I would say, even if you don't believe you can do it, you can. You can get the results. Yes, you're going to work your tail off. Sean and team have made it easy for you, but you need to show up and do the work. But it can be life-changing. And that's a starting point. It can change the life of your family. It can change the life of those around you, your friend network or your work. You can inspire way more people than you ever thought. So if you're like into being that person, first and foremost, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. I want every dad to hear me. It's a good thing to be there for your family, and that starts with taking care of yourself. But you're going to actually help or motivate a lot of other people. This is the program for you. And like, the excuses probably should at some point stop.
That's beautiful. Did you know kettlebells before you came to this program? You'd never...
I saw what they look like but I've never really worked out. So
do you like training with bells?
Yeah,
honestly,
there's something about them. And I was joking with Hugo, like now in my TikTok feed, I got all these different kettlebell people, and I'm like, She has a really good form. So I don't know what it is about when I'm doing my Turkish get up and I have to get to my other side. There's something rugged and fun about, all right, I got to get to the other side. I'm just going to roll around with my kettlebell.
Yeah.
Weird. It's a little bit, I'm trying to think of the word, caveman-like.
It's primal, man.
It's primal. That's a great word.
Yeah.
That again, I mean, I couldn't do a push-up 6 months ago, and now I'm throwing around the kettlebells and I'm feeling a little bit stronger. I'm nowhere near all the experts and all the other guys that I've seen on your videos. Nowhere savage like Winter Soldier.
Yes, you are.
Winter Soldier is. There was a guy in my group who was throwing around the 98 or whatever, and I'm like, no way. I'm lucky to get a third of that. But I'm concerned about form and function, and maybe I'll get there. It might take me 3 years. But I had that conversation with my son the other day. He's like, oh, I'm sure you're going to get there. It just may take you a little bit longer. And I'm like, wow, look at this guy out being mature and giving me advice. This is good.
What are you, if you don't mind me asking, what are you using for your Turkish get up and your swing right now? Like, what's your heavy bell?
My heavy for my get up is still 35. So my very heavy is a 44.
Awesome.
I can get that pretty solid on my right. Left, my face is like, you're lining up wrong. My swing on my very heavy is 53.
Awesome. And are you still in the first 16-week KT progression?
Yeah, because I took probably 4 weeks where I wasn't doing any bells. I was dialing in on my steps and nutrition because my wrist was hurting. I had sprained it right when I started the program. It had nothing to do with the program. And Hugo's like, well, we're going to just lay off the weights until it feels better. I had x-rayed. It wasn't fractured. It was fine, but it kept bothering me. He's like, well, we're not going to We're not going to antagonize it. So yeah, I'm still pretty early, but there was a point when on the get up, I'm just not coordinated well. I was practicing with like an 18 just to get the style. So for me to do 2 or 3 reps without going down with a 35, I'm like high fiving people. Like I can't believe I could do it.
Love that, man. That's so good. And kudos to you for not being able to do the training program for 4 weeks and staying with it and pulling the other levers.
Yeah.
I'll just be fully transparent. That is the number one reason that men join our program and then back out, because they have some sort of injury happen and they say, well, now I can't do the program, so I want my money back. And we always do it because we're like, well, we're not here to have your money. We're here to help you transform your life. But we always obviously try to tell them about stories like guys like you, who's like, no, you don't understand. This is a long game. Your body will recover. And when you do, you're going to be 20, 30 pounds leaner and feeling better from doing the nutrition and from getting your steps in. And then you'll be in an even better position to start training. And then we'll start training when you're ready. So it's just so great to hear that you were able to do that.
The other thing that helped is when I signed up for the 12 months, and it was like, well, it was end of October going into Halloween. And it was like, well, we're just going to count it towards all of calendar 26. So when I lost that time, I thought, I'm not actually losing any time. I'm still checking in with Hugo weekly, and we're dialing things in. I was feeling better. The scale wasn't moving a whole lot. But because you guys were generous with the design or the schedule, it was like, there's no loss here. And this is the rest of my life. I can't be so discouraging and nuanced with trying to be perfect that I fire the program or I quit on myself. Like, that's the wrong attitude. Crap happens to all of us every day. You got to shake that off and be like, well, I'm going to get back on the horse today. You know, like I keep going back to those Rocky quotes, but like, how hard can you take a hit and just get back up?
Dude, it is the freaking truth, man. And I love that. I think you having that attitude when you came in is probably why you've been so successful. I think that attitude right there is the one that separates the guys who ultimately succeed versus those who don't. You know, it's like some guys will just do anything to find a way, and other guys will just do anything to find an excuse. And that's what separates them.
That I used to run a cancer center, and there were 2 types of people that would get cancer, that diagnosis, and I could see them because I ran the pharmacy and the infusion side. I could tell generally who was going to win and who was going to lose, just to be black and white and not be morbid. Those that said, I have cancer, I don't want cancer, this isn't part of me, I'm going to fight this thing, I'm going to do anything, they're generally ones that could overcome and beat their cancer. The person that was, woe is me, I have cancer, this is part of me, this is part of who I am. And there are cancers that you have to live with. I don't want to pretend that doesn't exist. But the victim of it and the I'm not going to fight, they were always the ones who declined. And sadly, we'd lose them way too soon. So I've taken that mentality with my own health. Like, I can't outsource this to anybody. We each are accountable. So am I going to fight? Or am I going to sort of like make the excuses? And I think that's a pretty good predictor. You've probably seen that in your data.
Definitely. Man, the guys who fight, the guys who want to be in the arena are the guys who ultimately find a way to, you know, they walk around their basement, you know, at night. They get a text from their wife that says, you've only done 7,500 steps. You better get your butt out there and get 10K in. And they get up and they do it, you know, even if they're sick. That's what it takes. That's why one of the number one things we say in our community is it takes what it takes, because it's, you know, but once you have that locked in, it becomes who you are.
That was a big surprise to me too, is the larger community that you join. Like, I like the memes and the texting, and some people aren't into that. And if you're not, like, you don't need to be. But if you're looking for someone that is probably dealing with the same BS, they're taking the same knocks, it's hard, their wife might not be as understanding. Like, you could text your coach for sure, but you can also read other people's, hey, I lost 10 pounds, or I got a new PR on my get up. And I know you guys were all just in Austin. I couldn't make it. If that's what you need, you guys enable that too. And if that's what you don't like, then you're not required. Like, the flexibility I didn't know about that, and that's been pretty cool to unpack too.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things we always say to guys is like, you might not think that having a community is important, and you might not even be a guy who uses the community. But I can't tell you how many guys I've heard from who have been like, yeah, the community is really helpful, and I'll be like, I've never seen you post a single time, and they're like, yeah, but I'm watching, and
Yeah.
even if I'm not watching all the time, I just know it's there, and knowing that it's there and I have access to it is actually something that's been really beneficial for me because I see a bunch of other guys doing the same work that I'm committed to doing. I'm like, yeah. Most
I'll
guys are on an
say,
island.
when you and Grant post something and it's something I did or something someone in my class, my Winter Soldier class did, I'm like, these guys actually give a shit. That's kind of cool. They're not just VC back, on an ivory tower. They don't actually exist and have real lives. Like I can tell in the videos, but talking to you now but in that community, I can tell you guys care.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little bit starstruck, but it's also it just means that you're backing the product, and so that I found that motivating too. So when someone's posts like Joe Blow lost 10 pounds, I always put a star on that, just so that guy knows that other people appreciate his work.
Yeah, and that's meaningful, man. That's why our community is great, because guys like you, they see it and they say, I'm going to let this guy know that I see him.
Yeah.
And that's important, man, because most guys, nobody sees that they're doing the work if they're doing the work. They're just on their own. No one's giving them credit. No one cares if they skip. But when you have a group of men who are doing it and who see you, it's that extra little layer of, okay, I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let this community down. I want to show up. I want to be a guy who shows up. So.
Well, and I still feel bad about this. Mentioning Winter Soldier, I missed one workout and I felt terrible. But you know what? I said this to Hugo. I would have felt worse if I were to say I didn't miss one and I got the free T-shirt. No. This program's not for you if you're that guy. So
love that.
So I love the challenges. I think those are motivating too, because we always need something a little bit new and a variety. But while I'm disappointed, I'm like, well, there's going to be another one. I'm not going to miss that one.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. That's right.
Well, Mike, our time is up, man. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. I know you got a lot going on, so it means a lot to have you come on, and hopefully this conversation inspires even one guy to take control of his health and
I believe
start
it will.
Swinging some bells.
I appreciate everything you and the whole team are doing for me, but for everybody. It's super motivating.
Well, absolutely, man. It's great to meet you, and thank you so much for being willing to share your story. All right, Mike, you too, buddy. Talk to you soon.